Hey guys, Nuie here, back again with another build theory episode. But before I hop into that, I just want to mention the fact that PoE has officially announced the date for its Fall of Orath 3.0 release date. So we have been given August the 4th as our release date. So that's only about 2 weeks. So it gives me a little bit of time to just level through some characters and um finish leveling up some characters that I have currently done and just play around with a couple more things before the patch really hits and everything kind of changes. So I'm only really gonna do about two more of these videos as far as 2.6 is concerned, and then when we get into 3.0, I will be back with more 3.0 builds, and I will be hopping back in terms of storyline for a 3.0 full storyline run through. So I'll be showing off all the new quests, all the new quest line, all the new leveling, and all stuff like that. So I'll keep that as another kind of weekly segment on my channel. So but yeah, hopping into this current build, the build I am talking about today is my Salmonous Vortex build. Now I named it the Salmonous Vortex build because if you search Salmonous on YouTube, gods, there we go. So Salmonous is basically just Noctil. It's basically like they're basically these twin gods that are responsible for handing Zeus thunderbolts. So the reason I kind of thought about this is because I was playing around with the spell Blade Fury, or not Blade Fury, Blade Vortex. There we go. That spell, and I wanted to kind of augment it with both electricity damage and ice damage, and then just kind of maximize the spell damage from it. So I decided to create this build off of it, and it is a CI build. I wanted to see what leveling with CI was going to be like, so I actually early got CI. Like typically if I was just doing this build and I was just leveling, I wouldn't get the actual CI nodes for a while. I would go more into my other stuff and keep my health points, but I decided to just try it out and see what it's like. So I just grabbed CI early, and I already have almost 2,000 energy shields, so it's not really a big deal. So I don't feel too unsafe. Even with only having one hit point, I still feel leveling is very smooth, and I don't have a lot of problems. Now, when I play this build, I do use a one-handed wand as well as a shield. I prefer this setup because it gives me both physical damage and spell damage, which Blade Vortex runs off of, or scales off of. So the more spell damage I have, the more damage blade damage will do, or the more spell damage I do, the more damage that Blade Vortex does, as well as the more physical damage I do. It also scales off of both of those. So I'm also adding a bunch of lightning damage and a bunch of cold damage, so that'll be kind of my damage source, and I'll basically be focusing on running different spells off of my spell damage, and I even scaled into it to be able to grab the most elemental damage I could grab while still maintaining my spell damage and area damage and stuff like that. So this is how the build looks. I did grab about 3 jewel sockets. I got about 100% in 150% in both lightning damage and cold damage. I also have about 150% just base elemental damage. So I'm also grabbing about 100% extra spell damage, so I'll do about 2 times the spell damage I would typically do. So this is all going into my Blade Vortex kind of build, because as I can get more spell damage on this, then the spell damage continues to ramp up based on just, wow, really Dell, really not cool. Anyways, we'll basically ramp off of my spell damage and different damage lines. So for my jewel sockets, I'm typically just gonna run spell damage as well as maybe elemental damage, or even increase cast speed or anything like that, just to be able to get my or even area damage too, to be able to increase the damage from my spells as well, that spell. And then it's just kind of just knowing how to play the game and not really dying. The only curse I'm really running is I am running a curse on hit off of Herald of Ice, so I am going to be using most likely vulnerability, because it still does physical damage on hit. So even with all of these, even with all being spell damage and elemental damage, I still, the actual hit itself is still physical damage from Blade Vortex. So I still wanted vulnerability to be able to do that. I also have extra power charges, and I'm grabbing 2 extra power charges. Yep, 2 extra power charges from stuff, and then if I got lucky with like a couple items or something, I might be able to grab even more power charges just from stuff like that. So that also increases my spell damage and stuff like that. So I wanted to be able to grab that and do as much damage as I could. Now the downsides that I noticed from this build when I was leveling, because I'm still currently in the middle of leveling. I'm actually about level 45. I just cleared normal mode Labyrinth, and I'm heading into Cruel right now, and I haven't had any real issues. I did get CI before I even went there. I even pretty much face tanked Zaro, to be honest. Pretty much face tanked Zaro, didn't take any damage at all, and just stood there in front of him and spammed my damage out. I didn't really take any damage at all. I didn't see my health drop at all, and you know, I'm not really running like super OP flask or anything like that. I'm just basically running like movement speed flask and an extra, I think I'm maybe running like an extra health, or not even a health pot. I'm just running mana posh. I don't actually have any health pots, so nothing really. I'm not really any flasks that are super extra OP, but it's just a fun build for me, and I like it pretty well. I've been having fun leveling with it. I have a decent amount of elemental resist, though I'm a little bit low on fire res. I couldn't really grab a way to get any extra fire res that wasn't kind of out of my way. But it's not a huge issue because my gear will still give like quite a bit of fire res. And I'm also grabbing the passive fire res from killing or helping out Creighton in the first portion of the bandits. There we go. Thank you, Mind. Yeah, so I'm grabbing stuff like that. I'm giving about 115% extra critical strike chance just from my spells, just from basic stuff like that. A large amount of elemental resist, or a large amount of energy shield, a large amount of spell damage, just basic things. A bunch of mana regen, so I don't really have to worry about mana pots eventually. As soon as I really scale into that, I am running a trickster for my ascendancy. I'm basically doing this because of the increased cast speed and stuff. I'm probably heading into 3.0. If I make another Blade Fury or Blade Vortex build, I might try out just physical damage and then scale it off of poison. I've looked at the 3.0 skill tree, and there's quite a bit more poison nodes that I can run off of, so I might do something like that. But I actually, unlike a lot of players who prefer to run like heavy crit and will run assassins and then will run daggers, I actually prefer claws. I don't know if it's just the look or the way the attack speed or even just the extra life on hit and stuff like that. I just prefer claws, so my builds will typically revolve around claws. I know this kind of lower ends my damage a little bit, but I just prefer claws. So that's just a personal personal preference when it comes to playing through Passive Exile, and that's kind of why I love this game so much, because it gives me so much extra kind of personalizing of all my builds. As you can see, I do take quite a bit of time to really look into these builds and really think about how I want to play them, and based off of my play style, how I want to play them. But I also take into a concern like different players and different play styles, and I also want to be able to make builds that really help new players, because I feel like they're kind of a lot of my builds are more on I don't want to really spend a lot of currency but still be able to get to more end game content, and that's what I really focus on with my builds. I've only really spent on one build, and that was my face breakers build because I needed the face breakers item for that. But other than that, all of my builds have been very, very cheap. I haven't spent any currency on them. I'm just bunning them off of dropped gear, and I've been able to get through Cruel, Normal. I've been able to kill Merciless. I'm at Merciless right now with my Sunder build, my Kratos build. If you guys have watched my earlier videos, my Kratos build, I'm currently on Merciless right now. I'm finishing up Merciless and heading into maps. I'm doing about 14k DPS. I've got about 4k health. It's a very nice build, and I'm just kind of cruising through. I've had a couple dumb deaths because of just haven't paying attention, because it's just kind of a little bit stronger than I actually first thought about, and I ended up just kind of phasing out and just kind of spamming damage on stuff, and I wasn't paying attention and stood on top of a lightning trap and just died. So just stuff like that. It's more of it's such a good build, and I don't have not a single piece of the gear that I have on that character was bought. I did get lucky. I got a nice shield drop. It gives me a nice armor evasion shield drop and some other stuff, but I did not spend any actual chaos or anything like that buying gear for these builds. So that's what I really like about that's what I'm really focused on when I make these builds, is being able to do these builds from scratch and not having to spend a huge amount of currency on them. Because I want new players to be able to be comfortable playing this build and be able to learn the mechanics of the game while still not having to worry about really having a huge amount of end gear stuff. So wrapping up, this is once again, this is just my Saminus Blade Vortex build. It's a CI build, so just be aware of that. And I also, once again, I still run it with wands because of the extra spell damage and physical damage. So this is my build. I have the full build, and I'll leave the link to this build in the description below. I hope you guys liked all of this, and I hope you guys appreciate what I'm doing, or what I'm trying to do. I hope you guys can also like and subscribe to my channel, or give me any thoughts on my builds, or what you guys think would actually be a better build, or anything like that. But once again, Fall of Oreth will be released August 4th, 2017. So I will only be doing about this week's build and next week's build, and then I will not have a build out. Well, actually, I might have an early build. Depending on what day the 4th is. I have to look at my calendar and see what I'm doing. Depending on what day that is, I might get out my 3.0 build. I'm really going to be working on it next week. I'm really going to be working on looking at some 3.0 builds and really focusing down and looking into what I want to do and what I want to play for my first couple characters heading through. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will catch you all later. Nuie out. Haven't seen my residence, it's evident, just visiting, blending.